Road trip. It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like when it comes to you eating when you're in the car on the road. I know healthy is like the most paramount thing to keep our bodies active and moving and being healthy. But what I understand is that when it comes to traveling on summer vacation, when you're traveling so long in the car down the interstate, you get a hall pass, which makes me think about the snacks that are in the car when you're driving. My wife packs every time. And so Amy will get a cooler and she'll put some healthy stuff in there, cheese sticks and apples and carrots, and all that other stuff. And then for her and the kids, it's the good stuff. It's the Cheez-Its and the Doritos and all those type of snacks.
Well, I have delusions of grandeur when I pack. I'm like, yes, I'm going to take this road trip and I'm going to be super healthy. And then no. And then I stop at the corner QT and I'm like, chili cheese, Fritos. And
Me, the jerky, right? I like jerky.
I don't like jerky. I think
I'm
that's a
telling
dude thing.
well, I guess it is. Scott gets all the unhealthy stuff too.
We have a visitor with us every road trip. Her name's Little Debbie. And so we have several boxes of her delicious snacks with us on every road trip.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
Okay, I need to know if Jake is close by. It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio. Jake is one of our producers of His Radio TV. So when you're on Roku or Apple with the His Radio TV channel or hisradio.com and the My His Radio app, everything you see with the video of everything we do in the morning, Jake's a part of that along with Ninja. And so, Jake, you'll need to move over a little bit so I can see you. So, Jake, we heard from your mom. Okay. And your mom says specifically there is a road trip snack always brought with you when you're traveling, for summer vacation.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you know what it is.
If I had to guess, I would say combos.
Combos. You say combos. Okay. This is Jake's mom. Listen real close. Jake says combos. Let's see what his mom says.
Every single road trip that I take, I have to have a bag of pizza-flavored combos. I don't know why. I don't know when it started, but it has to happen, and it just makes the road trip a little easier.
Jake knows his mama. Yes.
Yeah, I got you, mama. I got you. Shout out, mama.
Why combos?
I don't know. You know what's crazy? I don't really care for them.
Well, at least she gets them all to herself.
Yeah.
Big facts.
Really big facts.
You're listening to Rob and Lizz in the morning.
His radio.
So here's the news outside of one of these big Taylor Swift concerts. I mean, the young lady is huge. Everybody seems they want to see her in concert. That's what it seems like to me.
Yep.
I don't, but a lot of people do. So outside, there's the news, and they're interviewing people going into the concert. And there's this one lady, and I'll just read you the slug line. Underneath her, you know how there's the graphic underneath the person that's talking, and it says Taylor Swift fan, and then a little slug about who the fan is. And here's what it says. Woman hides identity because she called in sick to work.
She looks like Cousin It.
Right? I don't know if you've ever watched The Addams Family. So here's what she did. I don't know if this is a towel or a blanket, but it kind of looks like a towel to me. She puts it over her head and then sunglasses on it. And there's the microphone in her, I guess, near her mouth region, doing an interview on TV.
And it's not like the news crew had the towel or the blanket. It literally looks like she brought it just in case, because there's always at least local news covering all of these concerts because it's so big and so many people are there. And so that's basically what she did, is she threw this blanket or towel that she brought and her glasses on. And the glasses are very Taylor Swift-esque, like they're kind
Okay.
kind of a rose gold. And that's the whole thing. When you go to these concerts, you dress in one of the eras, from the music. And so that's kind of what she did. Even the blanket matches the sunglasses. So
That's crazy. It's so crazy. Call out to work for that. I tell you, I would feel guilty. I can't do that.
I will tell you, I did it when I was like 17 years old. I got up. I was not feeling my job that morning. And I called and I said, I can't come in. I've got a scratchy throat. And they knew, and I was caught.
They called around.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
If you served people and tips come your way, you deliver, I don't know, pizza, DoorDash, anything, that a 25% tip would be a pretty good tip. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio. So, okay, let's do some math, which is dangerous. 25% of $20 is roughly what?
$5.
$5. Okay. So here's a guy. I don't know if this is DoorDash, but it's not the pizza delivery guy. It's like one of those type of companies where
Uber Eats or Grubhub or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, where you pay a monthly subscription to. Okay, so this guy shows up, really nice house, delivers the pizza, gets a 25% tip. You may have seen this already. A 25% tip. And so the Ring camera captures this.
I just want to say it's a nice house for a $5 tip.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then after that, he says something that should come out of nobody's mouth.
Right. He is not happy that he got a $5 tip. I think $5 on a $20 pizza, plus she pays the monthly service fee. I think she's done really well. 25% is good.
I caught a follow-up on this. I don't think the guy's with that service anymore because of the way that he reacted. She didn't call them and say, hey, this guy said this, but she did post it, on the way that he reacted. Let me tell you, there was a time in my life when, here's a little bit of background for me. I grew up in poverty, single mom, and then I had to hit the streets. I was a bad kid, so she kicked me out of the house. So literally, I was orphaned when I was a teenager and had to take care of myself in the streets. And so there was a time that I would look at a certain house or anything like that, wealthy people, and I would have a bad attitude, because I felt like, why not me? Okay? So I don't know if this is where this guy is, but I mean, that was... He had a really bad attitude because he came up to a house that looked, in his eyes, this is a great looking house, and all they give me is $5.
Right. It doesn't matter if you're delivering to a little house around the corner or Elon Musk. Like, you've gotten a 25% tip. She did above and beyond, honestly, what most people do. I think it's between 18 and 20% is what, most people would think about doing.
Makes me think about this guy, what is he walking through in his life thinking, man, they're well-to-do. They should be able to do a little bit more for me because I'm having a hard time trying to scrape to feed my family. I don't know what this guy's thinking in his mind. I will say Scott must give, not as great tips. He says people look strange at him.
Well, I feel like, I'm filling out the little slip at the restaurant with the tip, and I just don't like people like walking by and seeing what I'm doing. But what the average is about 20%. But now I will say it's going to be for me based on service. If the service is lacking, it might be a little less than that. But if somebody goes like above and beyond, which happened the other night, I bumped that up a little bit. I think it should depend on how you're treated.
Percentage-wise, what's the biggest tip you've given, percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise. Now, for a small tab, maybe at 50% once.
Wow.
That's pretty nice.
It wasn't a big tin. It wasn't like $100 or $50 dinner, but it
Scott,
was.
Do you need anything? You need coffee? What do you need? You need anything? I'm here to serve.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Okay, Savannah, there's a movie being shot there right now, and Clint Eastwood is in it. Now, there's like this restaurant scene that's in the movie. Clint Eastwood loved the restaurant so much, he went back later just to eat there. And people were like, look at this, it's Clint Eastwood in the restaurant. And it makes me think about what you do when you see somebody who's famous walking around.
It kind of depends. So there was a band when I was a teenager that I was totally into, Duran Duran, and I got to meet them years later. I got to go backstage and I met them, and I felt like I was 13 again. I mean, I was giddy. I was like,
Really?
it was crazy. And I was on cloud nine for a while. I called my husband. I was like, oh my goodness, I met them. He's like, great for you.
First host of Price is Right.
Bob Barker.
Yes, Bob Barker. My grandmother ran into him on the beach in Tampa. And because I liked The Price is Right when I was just a kid, she got a glossy from him and signed to me. I have no idea where that is today, but I had one. She went right up and said, "My grandson, Robbie likes you." Well, I'll give him. Yeah.
All I can picture is your grandma going up to Bob Barker in his three-piece suit with his little tiny microphone, and he pulls a glossy out.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
You'll never ever guess who Liz ran into at the airport.
I ran into Jesse's girl, Rick Springfield.
Rick Springfield. Okay, what'd you do?
I literally almost ran into him, and then I backed up and I looked at him and I was like, oh, I think that's Rick Springfield. I Googled really quickly, was he in town, this week? He was in concert the night before, and he went into the Delta Sky Club, and I had a meltdown all by myself with my luggage, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was Rick Springfield. Oh my gosh.
I can see Liz doing this.
Yeah.
I ran into David Crowder, who we play on his radio once at the airport. And we know each other, and we bumped into each other literally, and then we turned around and went, hey.
Dude.
And then walked away to get to wherever our connecting flights were. I think that was in Dallas or something like that.
But once Crowder walked away from you, he went, oh my goodness, that was Rob Dempsey.
Right. Okay, so Heather's here, and I believe Heather is related to somebody somehow, some way. So what is this, Heather?
I don't even know how it came up in conversation with my husband, but one day he's like, hey, I'm related to Burl Ives. And at first I was like, who's that? And he's like, the guy who sang the songs on Frosty the Snowman and for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, he's the snowman from the claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He does Sam's voice.
Yes. Whenever we tell our kids when we watch it at Christmas, I'm like, hey, that's your great uncle.
What do they say?
They're like, oh, okay.
Really? Because I'm freaking out to know you right now. I love that guy.
I know. It's really like, we looked him up and everything, and I want to say he is buried up in Illinois near some family people up there because my husband's from Illinois. I told him I'd love to go see like his, I know that sounds kind of morbid, but his graveside and stuff like that, just to be like, hey, I know that guy.
No, it's family. Why not?
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
When Ty was 20, he got this fever. And since then, since he's recovered from the fever, he has not been able to sleep at all. It's Rob and Liz in the morning, his radio. Here's the thing. Ty, that fever happened when he was 20. He's a few years older now. He's actually 80 years old. And he says he has not slept a minute, not even a minute, since he had that fever when he was in his 20s.
Nope. I can't, I have a hard time believing this is true.
Right?
60 years, you haven't slept a wink, buddy?
60 years. He got a fever when he was young, and he hasn't slept ever since, he said.
Well, I just can't make the connection between a fever and not sleeping. If I don't get a full 8, I'm a bear. So, and I mean 8 hours, right? This guy hasn't slept in 60 years, so he says. And I've seen his picture. He looks pretty good.
He says they've tried everything with him. They've tried medications. They've tried, folk kind of remedies. He's in Vietnam. He's a Vietnamese man, and he hasn't slept at all. He says none of the stuff works. None of it. So he's just wide awake. And his family and friends said, we've never even seen him take a nap.
How is this possible? I don't understand, and therefore I don't believe.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
There's a cruise line that has a 3-year world tour that's going to embark, and they're specifically looking at people to work from the cruise. It's a remote workers cruise for 3 years for $30,000 a year.
I know it's a lot of money, but if you think house payment, car payment, insurance, all of these things, food, bills, and then it's covered for the entire year, it's really not that bad.
$30,000 a year. So here's what it does cover: the food, the beverages, the Wi-Fi, and if you need a doctor, it's got the doctor on board.
It includes your doctor's visits too?
Medical visits, yeah. I mean, if you need an emergency or something like that and have to get off the ship to a hospital, that's a different story. But, if you get a cold, flu, something like that, you've got the doctor on board. If your stomach's a little queasy because the ship's moving around at sea, you got that whole thing too. Of course, after 3 years, you should be pretty used to it.
You should be, but some people never get used to that. But you've got those little patches that, you can use or whatever. But if the doctor's right there, you don't have to pay a mortgage. You don't have to pay for a car payment or insurance. I think I'd be kind of in, as long as the Wi-Fi's good.
130,000 miles, 135 countries you'll visit in the 3-year time frame while you work remotely from the cruise ship.
It doesn't sound like that many countries, to tell you the truth, so they must be spending a couple of days in each country. Yes, sign me up.
You're listening to Rob and Liz in the morning.
His radio.
Babies, let them nap. Let them nap. It's good for you. It's good for them. And I've never really known why babies need to nap so much. So like a newborn, 3 to 4 naps a day. Which is great for a parent because you got it, it's been rough. But as they get a little older, they start taking fewer and fewer naps. So what's happening when babies nap is they're working on their memories, which is so cool. So what I know, and learning as well. But what they say is don't rush them out of the napping stage, which when we have our granddaughter over, I'm like, we want to go play with you because we don't get to see you as much. So, no, we don't need to take a nap, but I need to let her
They
nap.
need to take a nap. So I think there's cycles of napping. First,
Yes.
there's when you're a baby, right? And a
Yeah.
toddler. And then it's when you're a teenager.
That's not a nap. That's just
a long sleep until noon or 1 o'clock, right?
exactly.
And then when you get into your 70s, 80s, and 90s, you need those naps again.
Yeah, my mom is probably taking 3 to 4 naps a day now.
So, see, she's a toddler.
Yeah.
Once again. Now, like Scott uses, what is it, Baby Wise?
Well, when we had our kids younger, when they were in that baby toddler phase, there's a book called Baby Wise, and it talks about the importance of having structured naps, feeding times, and things like that. It really helps the baby kind of get on a schedule. And like Liz said, let them stay snoozing, let them have those naps, but it's important that they have kind of like that structured time. It worked for us. Not everybody does that, but it really helped us when our kids were little.
It still helps Scott with his teenager.
Yeah.
They're still on a schedule every day at 2.
Rob and Liz.
His morning crew.
There is a grandma. Her name's Mary. She was out doing some gardening, and she lost her wedding ring, like her engagement ring.
no.
It's just beautiful. It had diamond. It was gold. And they looked, the entire family, like they looked and they looked and they looked and they looked, and to no avail, never found it. She never told her husband that she lost it.
What?
Right, I know. Why did he not notice? I don't know if she put a different kind of ring on her finger or, whatever. She just didn't want to break his heart. Like, you worked so hard to get me this ring, and I don't want to break your heart. So anyway, time goes on. Like 20 years has passed. She and her family found that ring in the garden. It grew on a carrot.
No,
It
it
evidently-
did not.
Yes. In fact, when I first saw this picture of this ring, I thought it was her finger, and I was like, "Ooh, girl,
What happened to your
you need
finger?
less salt in your diet because you are puffy." But it was a carrot, and it literally, this ring grew around this carrot, but it had been down in the soil for all that time, and finally a carrot got down far enough to where it got inside the ring, and there you go.
That's
She got her ring back.
hilarious. Oh, my word. Look at this, Mom. There's a ring in my carrot. that redefines how many carrots are in your diamond.